Well. Look who finally clicked on my iOS video disguised as a PowerApps video. That's right. I know that most of you are PowerApps users and, you just love PowerApp stuff, but I just really love iOS stuff as well. And, I love both worlds. So I thought, hey, why not do both? Today, I want to show you guys how to make a button in PowerApps, but also how to make one in iOS, because I just want you guys to see the variety in these programming things, and to show that, hey, if you know PowerApps, you could probably do iOS too. Honestly, it's not that different. I mean, it is, but it's not that different at all. If the conceptually it's not different, and you're just learning some more syntax. It's like, how did you learn PowerApps? Well, I knew Excel. Excel is not the same as PowerApps, but hey, you learned PowerApps, right? So I thought I might just show you guys some similarities, differences in PowerApps, creating a PowerApp, and then also creating an iOS app that you could actually upload to the App Store as well. So let's get started. But before we do, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Did you guys get it? Did you guys understand how to do this stuff while I was doing it? Are you curious to learn more? I don't know. But anyways, let's get started, and I would really sincerely be appreciative if you could click that like button. Really helps me with the YouTube algorithm and make more videos for you guys. But let's get started for real this time. So I'm starting here on my PowerApp, and basically what I'm going to want to do is create a PowerApp that when you click on a button, it changes a label, right? So let's go ahead and add that button in there. And this video assumes that, you have at least some knowledge in creating PowerApps, right? I'm creating a button here. Let's change the font size to 35, make that a little bit bigger. Change the text to press here, right? And that's just a simple button. Right now it doesn't do anything. You see how the onSelect property is false, doesn't do anything, right, when I click on it. But let's go ahead and add a text label. Right now I can make this text label say whatever I want, like hello world or hello everyone. Oops, let's put that in quotations, right? Hello everyone. And then let's make the font size 45. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. 45. So you can see that this text now says hello everyone. So how do I change the text inside of this label when I click on the button? When I click on the button, it just doesn't do anything right now, right? So to actually change this text, I'm going to actually replace this hello everyone with a variable, and I'm just going to call it my text. You can call it whatever you want, right? I'm just going to say my text. So this text, the text of this label is now set to my text, but it's given me an error because I haven't set my text yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to our onSelect property of our button, and then just type in set my text, set the variable called my text, and set it to you pressed the button, exclamation mark. And then throw in a parentheses, and we should be good to go. The errors have disappeared. So let's demonstrate our now completed app that we finished. Click the play button. So we have our app. Awesome. It's telling us to press here. It's looking quite enticing. So let's go ahead and click on it. Wow, hey, I pressed the button. It works. Awesome. So that's how you do it in PowerApps, right? You just insert a button, you insert a label, and then you set a little bit of variable, do a little bit of stuff in there, and then it's all good. So let's move on to iOS. So I'm going to open this in Xcode, and if you guys want help downloading Xcode, I'm sure there's a ton of tutorials out there, showing you how to do it. But once you have all that done, this is where the meat comes in, right? This is where you actually do the stuff. Here's this although it looks like it doesn't look anything like PowerApps here, right? This canvas thing, it's basically the same thing, right? So I know this code looks a bit complicated, but let's break it down. This is basically just saying, hey, now we can make these objects, right? This thing. It's not really relevant, honestly. I mean, it's important, but it's not really important for you to know. This thing right here basically says, hey, just make a view, make a canvas. So you can kind of relate it to PowerApps where it's saying we're making this canvas. You know how you can make a tablet or a phone layout or a desktop layout? This thing's just saying, oh, just make one of those. And it's just like for iOS, so you don't have to like specify what it's for. So that's what this does. And then this thing down here relates to that thing. You can see it's highlighted if I click on here. See that highlights? This just closes it, right? And then inside our canvas here, we have two things so far. We have a function called viewDidLoad, and then we have a thing that we created here. And this thing I created right here beforehand, it's a label, right? So if I go to PowerApps, I can click on text, I can click on label, boom, I get a label, right? That's how you do it in PowerApps. Here, you have to do it like this, or one of the ways to do it is like this, where you just say, hey, I want something called my label, right? In PowerApps, our label is called label 4, right? But in here, it's called my label, and I can name this whatever I want. My super good label. I don't know. I can name it whatever I want, right? I'm just going to put my label for simplicity. And I'm just saying, hey, this is the label. And then I'm just going to define that in there, and then I'm just going to change the properties of the label. I'm saying, oh, the text of the label is hello everyone. So that's what the label is going to be called. And then I'm just saying return the label. So whenever I reference this property now in anywhere in the code, it's going to be this label. So that's how you do it there. And then this thing right here, this is kind of a function that comes with this canvas view. Whenever the canvas view loads, then it's going to execute the functions in here. Now this thing is just telling the canvas to load, right? That's kind of required. But now this is the actual code that's going to be executed. So this is the one thing that I put in there, and all I'm saying is, as you can probably tell, I said set the view's background color to system red. So that is literally all my application does right now. It creates this canvas, it creates this label, and then once it loads, it just sets the background color to red. So let's run it and see what happens. Theoretically, all that should happen is the background color is set to red. So it's running. There we go. Hey, the background color is red. But hey, wait a minute. I created that label. Where is it? Well, the difference between PowerApps and iOS is in PowerApps, once you make a label, it automatically adds it into the canvas for you. In iOS, you have to create the label, and then you have to also add it to the canvas that we're talking about here, right? In iOS, they call it view controllers, but I'm just saying canvas, right? So let's go ahead and add this label into our view controller or canvas, right? So to refer to the view controller, we just say view. That's just what it's called. And then we say add subview. So add a child of the view. So add something inside the view. And what do we want to add? We want to add the thing called my label that we created, right? That label that says hello everyone. So just say my label. So we're just adding my label to the view. So now this is all my code does. It sets the background color to red once the application starts, and then it adds the subview called my label. So let's run that. And I'm just pressing Command R to run that, or you can just press this play button right there. So I have this thing, it's set to system red, and then it has added my label to this view. But hey, where is it? Now one more thing with iOS. In PowerApps, you can just like drag stuff around and it moves, right? So I can drag around this text. Now what this is actually doing is, and I can resize it too. What this is actually doing is it's setting a width of the text right there, right? So I'm changing the width. I can change the height of it by resizing it, and I can change where it is on the canvas by just moving it around. What it's really doing is it's changing the X, Y, width, and height. So if we go to X is, right side to side. You can see that as I'm moving this number changes side to side. And then if I go to Y, if I move up and down, the Y changes as well. If I go to width, if I resize it, you can see that it, moves around. If I just move it around, you see the width property doesn't change, right? Because I haven't changed the width property. So we have to do the same thing inside of an iOS application manually. You can also make it automatic, but one of the ways to do it is manual as well. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we added it to our view, right? We added our label to the view, but now we want to actually, we want to say, hey, we want to put the label somewhere in here. We can put it down here, we can put it here, wherever, right? But we got to tell it where to put it, or else it's not going to put it anywhere. So let's reference our label, and then what we call that thing is a frame, right? That's the label's frame. this would be our labels frame in PowerApps, right? It would be the X, and it all starts from the top left hand corner, right? So the X would be like here, this would be something, and then we go downwards, that's the Y, and then we just look at the height and the width, and then that's the frame. Same thing here. Oops. Same thing in the iOS application. We start from the top left-hand corner, and then we want to go to the X, we want to go down to a Y, and then we were looking at a width and a height. So to say that, we just actually make a CG rect, which is the same thing as what I just said. And then it's just a CG rect. See how we can just define our X, Y, width, and height. So just to give a little bit of frame of reference, this iPhone 11 Pro Max, the width is about 414 pixels, right? So if we want it in the middle, we just half of that, like 207 or something, right? So I want to put the top left corner of the label like right here about. So I'm just going to estimate it. The X would probably be, I don't know, like 75, and the Y would be 75 also, to put that right there. So I'm just going to put 75 for the X, 75 for the Y. The width, maybe let's give it like right here. So like 200, 300-ish, 200, 250. Let's go with 250. And then the height, let's make it like, I don't know, 70, right? So width 250, height 70. And then that's it. Now we set the frame. So we're making the color of the background red. And then we're adding in the label into the actual controller. And then we're setting the frame. And then we just build it. And theoretically, you should see the label there. Hello, everyone. There it is. We have successfully put a label into an iOS application. Now you can upload that application to the App Store and have it distributed. Anyone can download it, and this app will appear. Well, Apple probably wouldn't accept it because it doesn't really do anything right now. But yeah, if you made it a little bit more useful, Apple would, they'd let you put it on the App Store. So yeah, that's how you do it, guys. But we haven't even done anything with a button yet, so let's throw in a button. So you see how we created a label here with this kind of thing. So I'm just going to actually copy that, and I'm going to paste it. So now I have two labels called my label, and that's actually going to give me an error because it's the same thing. I have to call it something else. But it's okay, we're not making a label, we're making a button. So let's change up the stuff a little bit. So I'm going to call it my button instead, right? That's going to be the name of it. And a button, you just have to type in UI button instead of UI label. And then when we're creating it, same thing, we just have to change that to button too. Now, inside here, it's called label, and theoretically this would all work except for this part. But I just want to change it. Yeah, I could keep it label if I want, but it's not actually label. So I just want to make sure my naming conventions are good. So I just renamed that everything to a button. And actually button has no property called text. So I'm just going to erase that. And then, so let's define what our button really is. So the properties of a button is we want to set title instead of text, right? The .text, it's instead called like set title. So we have to, and you can see that it says, hey, it wants a string in here. So let's put in a string. We're going to do the same thing as our PowerApp right here. Press here, right? So we're going to set that to press here, exclamation mark. And then so this part is basically saying, oh, how do you want the title to be displayed? When do you want the title to be displayed? So to do that, we just put a dot there, and then we can see all these choices we have right here. If the button's highlighted, we can set the title to press here. If it's disabled, we can set the title to press here. If it's reserved or selected, we can set it to press here. What I'm going to do is just normal. So that's basically just, hey, if the button's normal, if it's just hanging out there, it's going to be called press here. All right. So we set the title of the button, and now we want the button to change the text of the label, right? That's what we want to do. So how do we do that? What we want to do is we want to create a function just anywhere, right? I'm just putting random. I can put as much spaces and new lines as I want, right? So what I want to do is create a function that sets the label's text to something else. So I'm going to say func set text label. Oh, no, let's do function. So to define a function, you just type in func, right? And then the next part of the function is going to be called the name of your function, so button pressed. So the name of the function is be called button pressed, because when I press the button, I want to, execute this function. So button pressed, and then you just include 2 parentheses as long as you have nothing in there you need to pass through, and we don't, so we just have 2 parentheses, and then that's how you create the function. But let's now put stuff inside of the function. What do we want to do when the button's pressed? Well, when the button's pressed, we want to reference my label, and then we want to reference the text, and then we want to change it to something. So text equals, and then we can change it to whatever we want here. So what did we change it to in PowerApps? Let's check again. You pressed the button. So let's go ahead and do that. You pressed the button. There we go. So now whenever we execute this function, right, and by the way, I can just keep adding lines or removing them. Whenever we execute this function called button pressed, the label's text will change to you pressed the button, right? So that's there. But if we run the application right now, that's actually not going to do anything because, hey, we didn't call the function yet. But we have to call the function. We have to tell it to do it, right? So we can call that anywhere. We can call it in view did load. So once the view loads, it's going to first set the system background, the background to system red, and then it's going to add that label in there, and then it's going to set the label's frame so that we can see the label, and then after that it's going to execute this function called button press, which then will move down here, and then it's going to set the text to you press the button. So that's what it does right now. But we don't want it to set that text when the view loads, right? We want to set it when we press the button. So let's remove that. We don't want that to happen. We want it to happen when we press the button. So how do we do that? Inside the button property, we just add a target right there. Add target. So this is going to execute something when we press on it, right? And then the target is going to be ourself, this controller, right? That just references the controller, which allows us to reference that button right there. And then what's the action? We just type in selector. So we're selecting an action since this is a different thing in Objective-C. We select an action, and then we're going to select button pressed right there. And then same thing as the set title thing. When do we want this to happen? So if we put a dot there, we have all these nice actions that these events that we can do. So touch up inside. So if I'm on an iPhone, touch up inside, which means we touch it and then we touch it up, but we're still inside the button. Touch up outside is when we touch the button and then we drag our finger somewhere else that we're not inside the button, and then we lift it up again, we're outside of the button. So I'm just going to touch up inside because I want them to press the button and then lift up their finger inside the button as well. So that's touch up inside. And that's pretty much it, except for, since this is an Objective-C selector instance, we just have to throw out @Objective-C in this function. And then that should do it. There we go. Let's remove all this space that I created earlier for no reason. So that should actually do it. And this is... That's already fixed. It says add Objective-C. I already fixed that. Yeah, it just goes away now. So now that should do it. Our button, whenever we press the button, it's going to execute this function. Oh, one more thing we forgot. We didn't add the button to the view, right? So we need to add the button to the view just like we added the label there. So we can actually just copy this code, paste it, and then we can change this variable to my button instead of my label because we want to add that to the view also. So my button, we're adding my button, and then we don't want the frame to be the same as the label. We want it to be a little bit lower, right? So let's throw it down there. Let's change the Y. Let's add 200 to the Y. So the Y, let's add 200, 275 now. And that should do it theoretically. So let's run our application. This is our iOS application. Now that we could upload to the App Store, that Apple would probably reject, but if we add a little bit more functionality, it would not reject it. And you can see, hey, there's a button here. And hey, there's a label here. Now, remember, we added the target button pressed into this press here button right here, right? So whenever we press this, our text should theoretically change to you press the button. There it is. That's how you do it in iOS, guys. You press the button and the label changed to you press the button. Now this is something you can just upload directly to your Apple iPhone. If you have a company or a business, you can create an Apple developer account. You can make an application. You can code stuff up like this, and it's kind of like PowerApps, really. It really is. It's just a little bit more complicated. See, if you take a look at this just from an initial first look, you'll be like, oh yeah, what is all this stuff? I don't know. But I took you step by step, and if it all boils down to, it's just like logic, right? So we created a button here, and then we created a label here, we created a button, and then once the view loads, we're going to do some stuff, which is set the system background to red, we're going to add the label, we're going to add the button, and then we're going to define a function called button pressed. When the button's pressed, we want to change the label to you press the button, and then we just need to add this function to whenever the button is pressed, we are going to execute this function. And that's all our iOS app is right now, and we pressed it, it became that. That's how the iOS application works, and that's how it compares to PowerApps, right? PowerApps, it is much easier to create that kind of application, right? It was much easier. It only took like 3 minutes to make the application. And iOS took a bit longer because we had to explain some stuff. But once you get it down in iOS, you can actually make it really fast as well. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of perspective, PowerApps versus iOS there, and I hope it helped. I hope you guys are a bit more interested in development. I know if you just want to get something done for your company, then maybe you wouldn't be really interested in iOS development, but if you're just doing this for the heck of it and you're just really interested in that kind of stuff, then I hope it was helpful. So yep, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you guys like it. Comment and subscribe to my channel because I do love seeing all that feedback. Let me know if you guys want to see more PowerApps, iOS Dynamics related content. I will be creating more content, just iOS, PowerApps, AWS, all that stuff, whatever you guys want, right? I just do it as I feel. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to come back again. I'll be uploading more videos. Thanks. See ya.